Paramshanti. Welcome to our channel Bapuji Dasrath Bhai Patel. This is conversation between Bapuji and Anandji, and today's topic is life after death. Anandji is saying, Paramshanti Bapuji, today we will discuss about life after death. Worldwide, many books have been written on this topic. We can also find unlimited books and videos uploaded on Wikipedia on life after death. Well, what is true and what is false will be judged by people from their own experiences. But today we want to know the truth from you, Bapuji, as your vision of world is different. We want to know the ultimate truth about life after death. I have noted few questions which I will be asking you. My first question is, what is the purpose of birth of a person? If the purpose of a birth is understood, will they try to fulfill the real aim within this life before death? My second question is, can soul think even after death? What is the experience of soul after leaving physical body? Where does that soul go? Whom does he meet after death? What is the subtle world and where is it? What is the after death experience of those souls who have done charity work, those who have remembered God, and those who have lived life of yogi? How do they feel after death while proceeding to subtle world? I will be asking you plenty of questions, but now let's start with what is life after death? Bapuji is answering, look, this human body is composed of 5 elements. Beyond this physical world, there is world of 3 elements. When souls leave their 5 elemental physical body, then we say they are dead. But in reality, souls just leave physical body, but they still have 3 elemental body along with their karmic records. The record of their deeds, so called karma bandhan. Soul is eternal, immortal, and indestructible. After death, out of 5 elements of physical body, 2 physical elements, that is earth and water, remain here on earth, and 3 elemental body made of ether, air, and fire, so called astral body, Antarbahak Sarir, or subtle body, Sukshma Sarir, move on to its new journey beyond this physical world. This is a very lengthy process, but I will explain it gradually. Now you have to understand what goes with soul. The karmic account, the account of deeds that has been recorded on soul, called karma bandhan, goes with that soul. So, one will get subtle body according to the karmic account stored on his soul. When subtle body comes out after death, the dead body has only 2 elements, earth and water. Anandji is adding, even scientists say there is 80% water in our body. Bapuji is saying, yes, there is about 70 to 80% water. They say more than 2/3 of our body is composed of water. Earth and water elements make human body heavy. Due to this heaviness, it's difficult for human beings to emerge Atma Swarup, the soul conscious stage, and it's difficult for them to understand the knowledge of soul and his creator. They do not have patience to listen to supreme knowledge, Atmagyan or Paramgyan, and therefore remain tangled in illusionary world. After death, astral body is formed as per karmic account that has been stored on soul when he had human form. This karmic account depends upon the thoughts present at the time of the death. The further course of soul's journey depends upon what soul has done throughout its lifetime. You have asked question, why does a soul take birth as human being on earth? So Shiva, the creator of this Brahmand, initially made world of angels or Farishta. There is a song which goes like this: काहे को दुनिया बनाई, क्या तेरे मन में समाई, तू भी तड़पन होगा. Meaning, what comes to your mind that you created world full of grief and sorrow? You might also be in pain to see your own creation. What I mean to say here is that ignorant people blame God for everything. But Shiva created Brahmand through Brahma, maintained through Vishnu, and destroyed through Shankar. In due course, angels also created multiple angels with their power of thoughts called Sankalp. Hence, uncountable angels were created. Later on, angels lost their power gradually due to multifold creation, and hence degraded into deities form with three elemental body. Furthermore, deities also performed enormous creation with their sankalp, resulting in gradual loss of their power and eventually taking human form. The cycle of birth and death of human beings is ongoing since time immemorial. The strong illusionary world entangles human souls in kama, lust, krodha, anger, love, greed, moha, attachment, and ahankar, ego. So, due to lack of true divine knowledge, souls have become tamopradhan, that is, impure stage. Souls are eternal. Souls, but not the body, were created eons ago. Different categories of souls were created at different times. I have explained about different categories of souls in my old videos. These different categories of souls come in cycle of life and death, then they get trapped in the world of illusion. When souls are created, they are in Satto Pradhan stage, meaning in pure stage, full of luminance. Souls gradually lose their brilliance in three elemental form and become Rajopradhan. Furthermore, when souls take birth as human in five elemental body, they become Tamopradhan, that is, they gain impure stage and lose their soul power. Deities have three elemental body and they are Rajopradhan souls. When they lose power, then they take birth as human beings. Indra, the king of deities, expelled these powerless deities from Swargalok to born on earth. Upon taking human form, they become Tamopradhan and come in cycles of birth and death, leading to more and more Tamopradhan stage in such a way that they remain engrossed with physical relations and illusion. So, at this stage, souls completely forget supreme knowledge and their creator. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, what is the main aim of souls when they descend to earth? What is the purpose of becoming human from deity? Did they come here to enjoy? Bapuji is answering, no, they already had pleasure in Swargalok. They keep coming down to lower lokas due to decrease in soul power. Many deities do meditation, empower themselves, and finally return back to Sargalok. Anandji is asking, does that mean when they become human, some of them spend life in remembrance of God, like yogis and sages, and empower themselves to take the form of deity again? Bapuji is answering, actually, some deities they don't want to stay as deity. They want to go to higher dimension above Surgalok, as they know Surgalok is full of greater illusion, so called Mahamaya. Anandji is saying, so here on earth we have illusion, Maya, and in Swargalok there is greater illusion, Mahamaya. Bapuji is adding, there is illusion on earth, but then there is greater illusion on Swargalok. Deities are elusive, but some pure and powerful deities make efforts to go to higher dimension. There is a side way in Swargalok that leads to higher dimension called Maharlok, the fourth astral layer. From Maharlok, they can go further high up in Janalok, Tapalok, then Brahmapuri, after that Vishnupuri, then Shivapuri. Eventually, they go to Paramdham. But when souls do not have knowledge to return, how can they travel to higher planes? They say human life is extremely valuable. So, even deities want to take human form as they can acquire supreme knowledge here. They can not only gain knowledge to return to Swargalok but also gain knowledge to go to supreme abode, which we call Paramdham. Furthermore, they can obtain knowledge of Mahashiv, galaxies, and beyond these. When the soul is enriched with supreme knowledge, it engages in the welfare of whole creation. Such souls, after death, go to higher celestial layers. Anandji is asking, let's move on to next question. Bapuji, what happens after death to the earth-bound souls who are greedy, rapist, or murderer? Bapuji is answering, before there was a system that when such souls leave body, then god of death called Dharmaraj or his messenger would come to take them to Yamlok. Then accountant of Dharmaraj, known as Chitragupta, would check karmic account of that soul. Based upon their karmic records, they were then sent to higher divine planes or lower degraded planes. But now that system no longer exists. Now it's all automated system, just like supercomputer. All karmic actions are recorded on soul. Upon death, they go to respective religious leaders in the subtle world. Souls from their particular religion in the subtle world will come to pick them and take them to their own subtle world. But religious souls will not take any sinful souls to the higher dimension. Anandji is asking, what happens to the atheist, the one who doesn't believe in God? Bapuji is saying, so when sinful souls leave their physical body, they get surrounded by other sinful souls of similar category. The sinful souls in subtle world, they know who is going to die, and therefore they keep roaming around unholy people at the time of their death and include them in their group after death. So, upon death, irreligious souls cannot travel to higher dimension. They keep roaming around on earth. Anandji is asking, are these sinful souls not able to cross 200-kilometer range above earth? Bapuji is answering, these souls can't cross above 200-kilometer range, but then extremely sinful souls can't even cross above 20-kilometer range. There is a law how far soul can travel. So the basic principle is the more soul has power, higher they can travel. Depending upon their power, some can travel up to 10 kilometer, some 20 kilometer, some 50 kilometer. Some souls travel up to 100 kilometer, 200 kilometer, 500 kilometer, and even up to 1000 kilometer. But how does soul get power? What is the fundamental behind this? So we know upon death soul leaves five elemental body and interacts with three elemental body, but the Vayu Tattva or air element of sinful souls is heavy. Due to heaviness, they are pulled by gravity and therefore cannot fly higher. Some extremely wicked souls cannot even travel above 1 kilometer range of earth. Anandji is asking, when negative thoughts become dense, then air element becomes heavy. Is that the reason to restrain movement of subtle body? Bapuji is saying, when any soul has negative thoughts, then air, fire, and ether element of his subtle body becomes very heavy. Anandji is saying, so Bapuji, just like it's difficult for obese people to move around, similarly, it's difficult for sinful souls to travel due to heaviness of subtle body as a result of negative thoughts. Bapuji is adding, impious souls do not have much speed to travel, just as heaviness in the physical body limits the physical movement, same way heaviness in the subtle body limits soul movement. They just go from home to temple, temple to home, or nearby places. Some souls cannot fly above 1 kilometer. Some may not even be able to travel beyond 500 meters, and this eventually ends in downfall of that soul. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, subtle body travels with the speed of mind, isn't it? Bapuji is answering, not always. Heavy subtle body cannot travel faster. Only good souls who have performed good deeds on earth, their subtle body is light and can travel up to 5 kilometers. But to go beyond this, souls need to make great spiritual efforts. Anandji is asking, so Bapuji, negative souls cannot travel upwards, but if they die here in India, can they travel to America? Bapuji is answering, very high quality souls can travel on earth. There are a lot of unholy souls above land who we call ghosts. They don't have much power to travel as they have heavy subtle body. They can travel very slowly but they easily get tired. So they prefer to stay at their homes or with their groups. If soul was habitual drinker during physical life, then after death he will go to pubs where he can enter in someone's body and drink alcohol. In this way, sinful souls find places where they can fulfill their negative desires. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, I have heard and watched videos that in some places or under trees they offer cigarettes or bottles of alcohol. They have even written near the trees that the wishes will be fulfilled upon such offerings. Bapuji is adding, under such trees where people offer alcohol or cigarettes, group of ghosts, say 100 or 200 reside. These souls had habit of smoking or drinking when they were humans. So when someone offers them alcohol or cigarettes, group of let's say 50 or 100 souls go and help the offerer. Anandji is asking, so Bapuji, in reality, is there any benefit with such offerings then? Bapuji is saying, these ghosts who have habit of drinking and smoking, who are filled with negative desires, they do not have power to help others. Anandji is saying, so Bapuji, it is madness to offer cigarettes or alcohol to ghosts to fulfill wishes, who themselves are hungry. What can they give to others? Bapuji is saying, these kind of souls are full of desires. They enter into a human body to fulfill their desires which they couldn't fulfill during their physical life and hence make demands. I have seen long time ago that a ghost entered into a Brahmin's body and demanded for non-veg food. Exorcist was called for purging out ghost, but ghost wouldn't leave unless he was fed with non-veg food. At the end, non-veg food was fed to him. This Brahmin's body was lean and thin, but he ate non-veg food more than the weight of his own body. During my childhood in my village, I used to go to places where exorcism was performed. I found out that exorcist forcefully made some ghost to enter into someone's body and demanded for various objects in return of relief from ghost. So it was like business. These ghosts are hypocrites and liars. Anandji is asking, people who were liars while alive, will they be liars after death? Bapuji is saying, these sinful souls carry out evil activity even after death. When they get opportunity, they enter into human body, capture mind and carry out unethical and undesirable things like they enter into 80 years old man and harass a small girl. All these kind of wrongdoings are inspired by evil souls, but people are unaware and cannot understand this. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, what happens to the people who have died in accident? Bapuji is answering, Antamati so gati, meaning the future journey of soul depends upon the karmic deeds and its stage of mind at the time of last moment. One thing I want to ask you, who caused all these accidents? Accidents do not happen naturally. There are certain accident zones or turning points where accidents occur. Anandji is adding, in Bermuda Triangle, ship collapses, plane vanishes, and nothing is found. Bapuji is saying, yes, I heard about this Bermuda Triangle in TV channels. During my meditation, I observed that there is a hole just like wormhole around 2000 kilometers above Bermuda Triangle where thousands of subtle world souls reside, which spreads around 2,000-kilometer area. These souls pull anything or anyone that come into this area. They pull in such a way that elements get transformed gradually, resulting in upwards movement and finally vanishes. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, one of the Malaysian aeroplane was lost. Nobody knows where it disappeared. Bapuji is answering, everything or everywhere doesn't happen just like in Bermuda Triangle. Many times planes get lost in forests, but there are such places where souls of subtle world or aliens take away people or objects. Anandji is saying, there are countless such mysteries around the world which do not have any scientific explanation. Where science cannot explain the mystery, then intellect try to understand the mystery on spiritual terms or link it to spiritual world or ghosts. It's the same case with ancient aliens. First, they tried to understand with their own intellect. When they couldn't find the answers, then they looked into the scriptures and beyond. Now, Bapuji, can you tell us what happens to the people who have worked for welfare of others, who have sacrificed for country, who have served nation, or who have died in war? Bapuji is answering, look, the patriots, while leaving their body, they have good thoughts for the welfare of their nation. When these souls leave body, they serve nation even after death. So, on border, physical soldiers are fighting along with the cooperation of thousands of subtle world warriors on both sides. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, how many people died in World War First and World War Second, which occurred about 60 to 70 years ago? Bapuji is saying, the thing is, wherever people die, either in war or in accident or anywhere, if they don't have supreme knowledge, they will remain near earth with their closest subtle world souls. One common thing you have to understand is knowledge. Souls will decide to go to subtle world according to the knowledge they have. So, the first subject is knowledge. If soul has supreme knowledge, then they can decide their destination after death. Souls will decide to go to Sorgalok, Brahmapuri, Vishnupuri, Shivapuri, or Paramdham as per their knowledge and undertake their karma accordingly. Any souls, whether they are soldiers or sinful souls or whoever, their destination and speed after death depends upon the state of their mind at the time of death, hence called Antamati Sogati. If they want to go to Surgalok or higher dimension, they will engage in good deeds for the welfare of people. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, for example, when student is taking exam, at the last 3 to 4 minutes, their mind realizes that there are still many answers left to be written. What I mean to say here is, people enjoy whole life and when it's time to leave body, they remember there are still many important things left to be done. Their wishes are unfulfilled. Bapuji is saying, look, when people are young, they say, I will remember God, I will do meditation, I will pray Ram Ram when I grow old. But when they get old, instead of saying Ram Ram, it just goes Lam Lam. Because human body doesn't function well upon old age. In Sanskrit we call it Angam Galitam. That is why it's important to gain spiritual knowledge from childhood. Children should be taught theory of karma and supreme knowledge, then the world will be better place. Anandji is saying, if the parents don't have knowledge, how can they teach their child? Bapuji is saying, parents they don't know theory of karma. They don't have spiritual knowledge. In school there is only materialistic education to become doctor, engineer and so on. But children don't get supreme knowledge and knowledge of theory of karma. Anandji is saying that's why neither they become good person nor they can reach higher dimension after death. Nobody gives supreme knowledge to their children. Bapuji is saying in Vedic times children were given supreme knowledge. Parents had good culture too. Vedic times was very good times. Children used to go to ashram and then learn supreme knowledge and materialistic knowledge both parallelly. Anandji is asking, let's move forward, Bapuji. So, what is the after death situation of a person who is good hearted and think about welfare of people like Narsing Mehta? And someone who had never done anything wrong but always had wicked thoughts. Bapuji is answering, look, Narsing Mehta spent all his life singing Ras Leela, songs of Radha Krishna. He had high level of knowledge which is clearly reflected on his songs like अखिल ब्रह्मांड में एक तू श्रीहरि झूझवे रूपे अनंत वासे वेद में तू तत्व में तत्व तू meaning you are the one in this infinite creation Srihari. You are the one visible in different forms. You are the one origin of spiritual knowledge of Vedas. You are the origin of the elements. So, Narsing Mehta was a very knowledgeable person as well as true devotee of Bhagwan Sri Hari. He also believed in incorporeal form of God. As we know, one takes the destination upon the stage of mind at the time of death. Narsing Mehta had specific aim, so he went to higher dimension as he had knowledge of his destination. Now, for those souls who hurt other people or take away rights of other people, such sinful souls, at the time of their death, they remember all their deeds. Sometime overthinking of past karmas make them paralyzed. They become very sad and whoever come to meet them they seek for forgiveness, but sometimes they may not have done anything wrong on current life, but the stored karmas of previous lives come forward, hence they suffer. Anandji saying, Bapuji, you mentioned earlier that souls, not the bodies, were born 2 crore years ago, but later they came into the cycles of birth and death. Even Krishna told Arjun in Gita that they had many births, which Arjun was not aware of. So, karmas of previous lives are stored on soul but they forget upon new birth. They think that negative thoughts or actions are their natural behaviors, but the truth is, God created everyone in pure form. Let's discuss further. Bapuji, you have mentioned in the past that there are many temples, ashrams, and centers in the subtle world where guidance is given to souls for their upward spiritual journey. My question is Who can enter these ashrams and centers, and what are the roles played by sages, saints, and spiritual leaders in these worlds? Bapuji is answering, look, the saints and the sages seen in this physical world, they come from subtle world. They want to work for welfare of all. They reside in different subtle layers ranging from 5 billion, 10 billions, 20 billions, even trillions kilometers above Earth. Sun's gravity extends up to 75 quintillion kilometers. Above this also, subtle world exists, where uncountable souls reside, who want to come to Earth for welfare of all. Some of these subtle world souls come down on Earth and become saints and work for goodness and guide other souls. This may be due to presence of their relatives or creation on earth or due to karmic bondage. These good souls come from subtle world as well as casual world. For example, Vishnupuri. Anandji is saying there is a separate video on Karan Jagat casual world. Any interested viewers may watch that video. Now, what I want to ask here is these pious souls, when they go to higher subtle world, will they meet their spiritual leaders? What will happen after that? What will be their role? Will they be given supreme knowledge there, or will they be sent back to earth for allocated tasks? Bapuji is answering, most of the religious saints, sages, or spiritual leaders come from lower layer of subtle world. Upon death of a devotee or a follower of certain religion, they are taken to their respective spiritual leaders, saints in the subtle world. There are very nice temples and ashrams, better than physical world. Pious souls look out for these places in subtle world where they can meet saints or spiritual leaders in order to gain supreme knowledge, as they are aware that they can go further up into the higher dimensions. For example, there are different subtle layers like Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok. So let's say a soul reaches Mahalok, then it will try to go to higher up to Janalok. These curious devoted souls then do meditation upon the guidance of sense in Mahalok to get more power to move further to Janalok. They perform meditation in Atma Swarup stage, that is, soul conscious stage, and become thoughtless. Hence, their ether element gain more power, resulting in weightlessness of soul, and eventually fly upwards to Janalok. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, I just remember if we have to gain knowledge and do meditation in higher dimensions after death, can we not perform it today, right now, here on earth? Bapuji is answering, why not? You can directly fly to Shivapuri if you do not have a single karmic account or any sins left over. Souls can directly reach to Vishnupuri as well. We have to understand the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and know Supreme Almighty and lead Karma Yogi life. Anandji is adding, the important point of this discussion is that if we gain knowledge and understand supreme authority, perform meditation here on earth, it will be lot easier when we go to higher planes. Just like completing homeworks regularly makes life easy at school. Bapuji is saying, see, what's said in Gita is you will attain who you remember. If you remember saints and sages, you will go to them. If you remember Bhagwan Almighty Authority, you will go to Bhagwan Almighty Authority. Anandji is adding, Bapuji, it's also written that if you remember ancestors, you will go to ancestors. Bapuji is elaborating. So, where do ancestors reside? It's been said some reside in subtle world and moon, some here and there in subtle world. They present offerings to ancestors which we call Pitri Tarpan. So it's simple common thing and common sense for knowledgeable people to understand that you will attain who you remember. If you remember Lord Krishna, you will attain Lord Krishna. But saying so, knowing Lord Krishna's ideal doesn't reflect knowing Lord Krishna. You have to know Krishna was incarnation of Almighty Authority. So you have to know Almighty Authority. You have to know Param Purush. You have to know that Param Purush resides in Shivpuri. We call Shiva Mahaparam Purush. We call Mahaparam Purush to Vishnu too. Anandji is saying, that is why people cannot understand difference between Rishi and Brahma Rishi. So people cannot strive to become like them. Bapuji is adding, look, whom we call Rishi, they reside in subtle world. But then Brahma Rishi, they reside in Brahmand, beyond the subtle world. Brahma Rishis have knowledge of Brahma and have power to fly to incorporeal world, Nirakari Dunya. All rishis cannot be called Brahma Rishi, as Brahma Rishis have their own dignity and spiritual qualification. For example, even after a lot of meditation and penance, Rishi Biswamitra wasn't given Brahma Rishi status for many lives because he had ego. He acted against universal law, natural law, by sending King Trisanku to Sorgalok with his physical five elemental body. Anybody who acts against natural law won't be designated as Brahma Rishi. So, one who knows Brahma, we call them Brahman. Brahma Rishis have knowledge of indestructible and incorporeal form of Brahma or Jyotirling. They worship Jyotirling, not Shivaling. There is difference between Shivalinga and Jyotirlinga. The incorporeal form of God resides in supreme abode which we call Paramdham. So, Brahma Rishis can fly directly to Paramdham without any interference. So, imagine what's their speed. Anandji is saying, there is separate video on Jyotirling and Shivaling. Let's go back to our discussion. As said before, souls can travel to higher dimension according to their power in subtle body and not beyond that. First, they meet rishis, and moving further up, they can meet Brahma Rishi. But main point is, before souls leave their body, if they take lessons here on earth about what happens in higher dimensions, what happens to them after death, what is the aim of life, and start working upon it now through meditation and supreme knowledge, then it will be easy for them to attain stage of supreme soul or sivatva, As you have already mentioned, powerful souls with proper knowledge can directly go to Shivapuri. Those kind of souls can even travel beyond the stage of Brahmarvisi, reaching to Mahashiv or even Param Mahashiv. Now, my basic question is about collective bank of Akashic records in which data of all souls are collectively recorded. Can you explain it, Bapuji? Bapuji is saying, I am going to tell you one thing. For example, when you speak, it is going to be recorded on air element, Bayu Tattva, isn't it? All records are stored in each cell of Bayu Tattva. There is record of whole world in Bayu Tattva. Likewise, in higher layers, all records are stored in ether element, Akash Tattva. Just like data automatically gets stored in supercomputers, similarly, collective Akashic records get stored in ether element automatically. Ether element itself works as supercomputer. Anandji is saying, so Bapuji, everything is recorded in atmosphere. For example, I have heard and watched in TV that a sage meditates under a tree, then powerful energy emerges within him in such a way that even trees, land get energized, water springs out from land, varieties of wonderful things happen. In this situation, the power of meditation is recorded in that atmosphere. Is that so? Bapuji is saying, see, when any Rishi meditates at any place, then supreme elements, Param Tattva, get accumulated around him. Let's say if the vibration of meditation ranges up to 100 meters, then within that range, air is made of supreme elements and is very pure. Param Tattva gets absorbed into trees, land, air, and every particle of that area. Earth also contains ether element Akash Tattva, so one can find supreme elements in the earth up to the depth of 50 meters in that area where Rishi Muni had performed tapasya. If someone sits down and meditates there even after 100,000 years, then they can still feel the power. Anandji is saying, that is why some places are very special. Bapuji is saying, yes, in such places, presence of supreme elements can be experienced even after 100,000 years. Movement of air may blow away the supreme elements in air, but 50 meters deep down the earth, Param Tattva still exists, even after 100,000 years. Anandji is saying, if a person commits sin and thinks nobody has seen him, then can he escape from the karmic effects of that sin? Bapuji is saying, everything is recorded up there. These all actions are recorded in the atmosphere as well as stored in Akashic records, just like in supercomputer. Karmic actions are recorded on that soul as well. Anandji is saying, when someone does any sinful activity, they immediately become aware of its consequences, that they will get result in coming future. You told us once that result of sinful actions make them sad. So their heart becomes heavy immediately. I mean to say, they did sinful actions and got punished immediately. Bapuji is saying, look, if any soul performs immoral activity first, their soul and heart feel it. Heart says, I haven't done it right, because soul will at least know what is wrong and what is right. Even if they are not pure being, their heart can judge what is good and what is evil. So, when actions are unethical, heart becomes heavy and sad, finally resulting deficit in Karan Sarir, the casual body. Anandji is asking, Bapuji, when does heart transform? Great King Ashoka fought so many wars. Later in life, he realized and didn't fight. His heart was transformed. Bapuji is answering, when a soul carries out unrighteous actions, for example, Ashoka fought big battle in Kalinga, which we call Odisha today. He saw hundred thousands dead bodies. Then inside him there was a voice saying, what have I done whole my life to rule? Such voices doesn't just emerge within. Sometimes good souls from subtle world who have karmic bondage inspire people with their rays and emerge thoughts and voices within, compelling them to think about their actions and rectify it. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, they should inspire beforehand, shouldn't they? Bapuji is saying, but all this is due to karmic bondage. Later in life, when good time is coming, then good souls from subtle world inspire these impious souls and emerge good thoughts. Anandji is saying, that means if somebody is engaged in unlawful acts, then it's due to their negative karmic bondage. But then, when good times come, then thoughts will be transformed. Is that so? Bapuji is saying, no, no one should think like this. Everyone should think before they effectuate their wrongdoings. High quality, knowledgeable souls, they even think what to think. Hence, they stay calm in thoughtless stage. Maximum time, they stay in remembrance of God, lead karma yogi life, and seek for almighty authority. They are always in connection with Supreme Soul and receive divine light from Almighty Authority, which recharges their casual body, Karan Sarir, and washes away karmic bondages accumulated over many births. Anandji is saying, so can we understand here that we have got human life to wash away our sins? Bapuji is saying, that's why we get human life, to clean up our sins. One can go higher up only if they eliminate negative karmas. Anandji is asking, let's move forward, Bapuji. Why does reincarnation happen? Who decides the birth of souls on earth? Who decides whether soul will born in rich family or poor family? Who decides whether soul will born as male or female? Bapuji is explaining. Look, at old times there was a system. Up there in subtle world, Chitragupta from Yamlok used to record all karmic actions of each soul on earth. But now things have changed. Everything is recorded on soul. If soul performs very good karma, then they can travel bit higher up in subtle world. There, in subtle world, souls reside in groups who are guided by sense. The saints or spiritual teachers in subtle world tell those souls about their karmic deeds. Then they guide them where to born. They say if you born in poor family, then your bikarma, that is, negative karmas, will clear quickly because there you will suffer a lot. And remember God. More you remember God, more you will clear negative karmas. Anandji is asking, so Bapuji, some babies are born blind, some are born handicapped. What is the reason behind this? Bapuji is saying, subtle world spiritual leaders ask those souls to take sankalp that they are born handicapped so that they can clear their bikarma of many past lives. So, Rishi Munis in subtle world give guidelines to those souls that they need to clear out all their bad deeds and attain stage beyond all karmic bondages called karmatit stage. Anandji is saying, that is just like doctor giving option to patient whether to treat with medicines or injections or direct surgery. So, as reason, such prevention. Bapuji is adding, yes, but when they come down on earth, they forget who am I. When baby is conceived, then incorporeal form of soul, which is very tiny cell, come to mother's womb. Then this tiny cell of incorporeal soul becomes an atom and gradually gets bigger in shape in 3 to 4 months time. When the body is formed and baby is 6 to 7 months, then soul can sense and gradually it forgets everything from previous lives. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, can you solve one of my confusion? I have heard that due to deficit in subtle body, they become handicapped or blind upon birth. In reality, they were sent to earth from subtle world to clear all their karmic account. So, body forms accordingly in mother's womb. If baby is blind, does the deficit come into its subtle body first? Bapuji is saying, when soul is very negative and sinful, then these negative energy creates heavy deficit in their subtle body. To recover the deficit, soul is given guidance to take birth in such adversity. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, sometimes person is very good and healthy, then he becomes blind later. Does he have any problem? Or maybe his negative karmic effects have come back that time. Or maybe his subtle body has discharged. Bapuji is saying, what happens most of the time is subtle world souls stay around physical world people. When the time comes, these subtle world souls gradually cast rays upon them and make deficit in subtle body of human souls. Hence, they become blind or get high BP, sugar, etc. I experience there is at least one subtle world soul with each human souls on earth. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, I have searched a name Supremo Master in YouTube. He says that there are 4 angels with every human beings. Even in the messages of Brahma Kumaris, it is said that on final day 14 souls will enter into one human body. Bapuji is saying, even if not 4, then there is at least one soul around each human soul. At the last moment, when God will manifest on earth, at least 14 souls will enter into one human body to get glimpse of God. Anandji is saying, Bapuji, now I'll stop our conversation here. We will carry out further conversation on this topic in our next video. Thank you, Bapuji. Paramshanti.